You noble diggers, all stand up now.
Hello, my friends, and welcome to my channel. Today we are going to talk about Hasan doesn't know anything about war or the Taiwan Strait.
Persistent fears that, like, if China were to do something, they would have they would be caught with their dicks out pissing against the wind in this moment. Because remember, missiles are not an infinite resource. You have to make more missiles, you have to make artillery shells, you have to make more tanks, you have to make more drones. And it's obvious to me that America does not have the capability of continuing to steadily supply.
People familiar with this channel may know that I'm mostly familiar in my formal education with philosophy and law, right? Corporate law, more specifically. I don't know anything about criminal law. Um, well, I know more than you, but having studied philosophy and law, I can tell you that the subject that I know most about, more than anything, is wargaming. I wargame basically as my only instrument of leisure, and I'm going to flash my shame here in front of you now, which is the hours I've spent wargaming. Which are in has to be above 10,000 total easily. So I'm a master, technically, of wargaming. It's gotten so bad with the wargaming that I could watch a video on a campaign I've never heard of. I did this recently, and do what my dad does when he watches Sports Center, which is predict what the commentary are going to say before they say it, right? Moments before. Uh, I did this with a campaign of Charles XII recently, where he was going against a Saxon Polish army. I said shift left and break them in the center, and then that's what he did. I intuit this at a deep level, right? It's hard to explain, but I'm going to slowly and hopefully get across some of my insights to say that America would crush China if they tried to take Taiwan without, allowing it to happen, right? And yeah, we'll go through that very slowly. Okay, Taiwan. Right? Everyone knows about Taiwan, but what would a Taiwan war look like? The Americans themselves say that in all their war games, they lose the Taiwan War, right? I'm begging you. This government pays $1 trillion every year to focus solely on war, and they're losing in their own, mock battles. There are parameters that are self-imposed that lead to this. War is not two peoples engaging in extermination campaigns historically, right? World War II was like that, but mostly war is between kings, and it's about small bits of territory between them, trading them back and forth, moving the chess pieces slowly. So what a victory in a war would mean is about the parameters that you set, right? So every time that the American Navy comes out and says, oh, we lost our war game again against China, they're full of shit, right? That they are adhering to parameters that make them lose so that they can ask for more money and more ships next year, right? But that if they adopted a no holds barred parameters, that they would crush Taiwan, right? The main parameter that I believe does this is the freedom of navigation, right? America, despite the one China policy, believes Taiwan to be an independent country, and therefore the territorial waters of China do not extend all the way to Taiwan. And there is something like a 12 nautical mile range where they can sail past Taiwan without entering Chinese national waters and maintain freedom of navigation, right? International waters. If Taiwan was China, then that would all be Chinese waters there. And sailing through would not be recommended. But freedom of navigation and what Chinese waters are only a legal term, right? Only de jure. But de facto, during war, that's their space and we have our space, right? We would fire from our space, which, Guam and the islands of the Philippines, the second island chain is completely ours, right? We would fly from there, shoot from behind Taiwan in the air, and try and sink ships in the sea as they carried troops to Taiwan. And all missiles are not equal in this matter, right? There was a line about how China can make more missiles than us. For sure, right? They could make more missiles than us. Could they make more long-range anti-ship missiles, which is what they need, right? It's not super hard to hit a spot on the Earth, right? Even a small spot, 30 feet by 30 feet, say. But what if that thing is moving, right? And fast? The ships, like the destroyers and the aircraft carriers that make up the strike groups that will launch most of the planes that will fire these missiles, well, that's actually not true. The naval assets and air assets will be for air superiority, right? That they'll have planes in the forward setting, right, nearer to Taiwan to engage in a skirmish, right? When wolf packs meet each other, the veteran wolves, the older wolves, run at the other pack and then retreat, right? It is a genetic, a deep survival strategy to skirmish with the enemy when you come into contact with another group. So America's long-range anti-ship missile flies 500 nautical miles, right? That means over Taiwan, which is 90 miles wide, and say they need, 25, 50 extra miles to get the ship in the sea that they're shooting at, that means they can shoot from 300 miles from behind Taiwan. No anti-air missile will be able to hit them from there. Right? And if they're firing air-to-air missiles, not anti-air missiles, ground-to-air, but instead air-to-air, then those planes will be vulnerable to the F-22 fleet and F-35 fleet. So there will be an air skirmish for air dominance over Taiwan if there was to be a fight. And think of it like a big cavalry melee between F-22s and J-20s instead of cavaliers and paladins. And then behind that, the logistical train, the siege train, will come the cargo planes, right? And the cargo planes are the main deliverer of missiles like this. And I'm going to attach a video in. Here, which will show you how a Globemaster, a C-17, deploys these missiles. It's like a revolver, and it drops them out the back. And then finally, the last thing that Hasan talked about was money, right? That that they could build all these missiles in a year, and that we would struggle to build these missiles, right? We're already building. Money is imaginary. If there was war over Taiwan, it would become complete fiction. The spending was about $1 trillion last year for the United States Armed Forces. I have no doubt that it would jump up hundreds of percentage points, right? And then again, the year following. If you look at British spending in 1914, right, they had a global military and imperial force that was draining their resources, and they still found credit and debt to pay for the war, right? Because victory is the only thing that ensures survival. debt is imaginary compared to loss, right? Compared to losing. So you want to think about what America would spend on war in that first year, right? You could think that they would spend $9 trillion maybe in the first year, and then maybe 20 or $30 trillion in the second year, right? And you think, well, what about inflation? Again, imaginary, right? Completely a fiction. The Roman Empire suffered 14,000% inflation before it even started to wobble as a civilization, right? Before the crisis of the third century even started to spark up. 14,000% inflation, right? A $1 piece of bread under $14,000% inflation would be $140, right? That would hurt, but it would just change the flow, right? More money goes to the people, but the money means less, is worth less. You could run that down to Japanese or Korean styled currencies, right? Where you need thousands of dollars to buy simple goods. You could deflate it so far. The financial system is so imaginary, so make believe. It's basically uninvolved in a war, right? The sinews of war are infinite money, and we have mastered that through our credit and debt allocations and instruments. So Hasan doesn't know anything about war, and to say that we would get smoked by the Chinese is nuts, right? Yeah, and again, even if we did lose that very flowery performance war over Taiwan, right? That we could shift gears into a war of extermination and survival. And again, I'm going to play the fascist meme about what they want to do to the Three Gorges Dam. Right? These people are not going to lose that war, right? We should just hope it never happens, and it probably never will. Thank you. Have a good day. Hello, you've made it to the end of the video. Thank you. This channel has one mission: to prevent civilizational collapse associated with climate change, to prevent 100 million refugees by 2035, to stop 7 billion from starving to death by 2075. And we will do this through one main vehicle. We mean to unite the Anglosphere. We will do this by convincing the Commonwealth of His Majesty King Charles III to apply for statehood as one. And then with this new power, we will be able to negotiate in good faith with the rest of the world on how to tackle this crisis. Thank you and enjoy.